Tux Takes.
All right, Ross, we'll start with the legend of Brock Purdy continues to grow following his 332-yard, 3-touchdown performance in a blowout victory of the Seattle Seahawks.
You know what? He keeps checking boxes, Jack, doesn't he? I mean, he keeps checking boxes and playing well. Speaking of playing well, I thought Geno Smith played really well in the first half. Really well. Even when he was under duress at times, he had the bomb to DK Metcalf, who beat Charvarius Ward down the sideline. And how about the end of the first half when the Niners get the field goal and then Geno Smith scrambles and Jimmy Ward, what are you doing? I mean, one of the worst, most blatant, unnecessary roughness penalties I've ever seen. And so the Seahawks get a field goal. They're up 17-16 at halftime. And they were even really hanging in the second half until Geno Smith fumbled late in the third quarter. I can't remember who stripped him. But when Geno fumbled late in the third quarter, that was kind of it. Because Seahawks are down 6. It looks like they're going to at least get a field goal, maybe get a touchdown to take the lead again. Geno fumbles, Niners recover, they go down for a touchdown, and they kind of never look back, right? I mean, that was the play. But first half, I was really impressed by Geno for sure. You know, on the Niners side, I thought Purdy was kind of up and down. He had some rough moments, especially in the first half, but I really like the mobility that he brings to the Niners. How about the first down where he kind of like high stepped to get the first down as he was running? I like that he's got some swag to him, which cracks me up. And he played much better in the second half. You know, in the first half, it felt like they were settling for a lot of field goals, right? They scored 16 points, which meant they settled for 3 field goals. Second half, they got some touchdowns. It helped that they got some big plays. It is wild. I can't remember the last team that had almost interchangeable parts like Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. They're both so versatile. You know, there are plays where they have Deebo Samuel at tailback and Christian McCaffrey split out wide as a wide receiver. They both made huge plays. McCaffrey in the first half went like 60-some yards. Deebo Samuel second half went 70-some yards for a touchdown. Those guys are OWs. They're not running backs. They're not wide receivers. They are offensive weapons, absolutely offensive weapons. I thought the Seahawks to have a chance would have to get some big plays in the passing game. They kind of did. DK Metcalf had a big game. But the second half, Geno was under duress from the Niners defense the whole time and just not really able to keep it going. I mean, the Seahawks were never going to be able to score 41 points. So the Seahawks defense really needed to play better than that to give them a chance. It had to be like a 27-24 type game for them to have a chance to win.
Chargers are going to Charger. Los Angeles has a meltdown of epic proportions, leading to a stunning loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 31-30.
Just unreal, right? I mean, and it started, I can't remember, Jack. Did we know when I made my picks on Friday? Did we know? We didn't know when I made my picks on Friday that Mike Williams was out, did we?
I think we thought he was playing. I think that was
right.
the expectation.
We thought he was going to play because that's what the indications were. I guess they did another scan because they thought it was like a bruise or, you know, just back spasms, but he wasn't getting better during the week. So they did another scan Friday morning and they found out he had these fractures, 3 like fractures in his back, and then he'd be out 2 to 3 weeks. So that sounds like it was like a transverse process, whatever the heck that is. But so Mike Williams is out. So all the conversation we had last week about Brandon Staley playing the guys against the Broncos, Mike Williams gets hurt, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that gets magnified like you wouldn't believe when arguably the best offensive weapon for the Chargers not able to play. I mean, that was absolutely brutal for the Chargers that Mike Williams couldn't play. Because you never know, right? Like maybe he makes one, it was a 31-30 game. Maybe he makes one play. That's the difference in the game. So I don't know that I've ever remembered a guy go from playing that bad to that well in Trevor Lawrence. 4 interceptions in the first half. 4. 3 of them to Asante Samuel. And not only that, not only the 4 interceptions, but they muffed a punt. The Jags muffed a punt at their own 6-yard line. But what happened is on a couple of them, including that muffed punt, the Chargers had to settle for a field goal rather than scoring a touchdown. It makes a difference, for sure. And the Jags getting that touchdown at the end of the first half, doesn't it feel like these comebacks, it always kind of starts with that one score, that one touchdown at the end of the first half, which is what happened. So impressed by the resiliency of not only the Jaguars in general, but Trevor Lawrence in particular. Boy, he really could have just gone in the tank, right? To be able to come back, it's his first playoff game. He's playing like crap. To be able to come back from that and put up 31 points, kudos to Trevor Lawrence for the mental toughness there. Clearly, the Chargers settled for too many field goals, right? I mean, 3 of them, and they were close. They were a bunch of situations like 4th and 3. They were down near the goal line, and then Dicker missed a chip shot field goal, which always seems to happen to the Chargers. That's when you knew they're going to lose. When Cameron Dicker missed that field goal, it was like they're going to lose. I love Doug Peterson's aggressiveness in the second half on 2-point conversions, knowing when to go for it. How about the T formation play like Penn State runs on 4th and 1, the ETN, which basically ended the game? Just a couple other thoughts, Jack. I really didn't have an issue with the Chargers throwing the ball in the second half and staying aggressive and leaning on Herbert. In hindsight, people are saying, they should have ran it, man. They should have ran it, take more time off the clock. They needed Herbert throwing it to get some of those first downs to at least get more points in the second half when they got that field goal. And to convert a bunch of those first downs, Herbert was doing that. Too often teams just run, and then they lose that way. Joey Bosa really hurt the Chargers. He lined up off sides when they got a blitz that was going to force the Jaguars either to a field goal or a punt. I can't remember. Then he smashed his helmet on the ground when I think he thought it was a false start and a hold. And that enabled the Jags to be able to go for 2. Just a bad look for Joey Bosa. Didn't really make very many plays and hurt his team. I mentioned the 3 Asante Samuel interceptions. But here's the thing. Brandon Staley's a defensive coach. The Jaguars had 4 touchdowns and a field goal on their last 5 drives. The Chargers D just could not get a stop. Get one stop, Chargers D. They couldn't do it. Lastly, terrific game for Gerald Everett for the Chargers, but ultimately all for naught.
Confusing time management decisions from both sides headline a close 34-31 victory for the Buffalo Bills over the Miami Dolphins.
Let's start with the food. By the way, environment was awesome. Buffalo's awesome. Weekend was awesome. I mean, just awesome. Got up there to Holiday Valley, Jack, early Saturday morning. Skied in the morning. I had lunch with former Jaguar and Texan Seth Payne, who's got a place up there and is up there sometimes, which was incredible. Good to see him and his wife, Brandy. And then that night, I was able to have a few daddy sodas and the best wings I've ever had in my life at Bar Bill Tavern with longtime listener and Tuckhead Steven Soroka and his wife Lindsay and his brother Jeffrey and girlfriend Ann. It was spectacular. I mean, it was like a dream day to ski in the morning, have a couple daddy sodas at lunch with Seth Payne, ski a little bit more, get up to Buffalo, and then meet up with some listeners. I mean, and I love that Lindsay Steven's wife listens sometimes. That's what happens, I guess, if the husband listens a lot, sometimes the wife does. So it was just fantastic. So shout out to Saturday and everybody. And then Sunday was cool. The press box food for the Bills. There's always a difference between press box food and booth food. Not always, but there is in Buffalo because the booth area is a different area than the press box. But they had ham and cheese croissants. A little bit too the croissants were a little bit too toasted for me, and it was too much bread. I'm more into the ham and cheese as opposed to the bread. They had eggs as well and some bars you can eat from. And then halftime is when they really did it. Halftime they had a whole thing of barbacoa meat, which I love, like chipotle barbacoa meat, and then the pasta. I can't remember what kind of pasta it was, but it was absolutely delicious. As for the game, looked like it was going to be a blowout. I mean, looked like the game was getting away from the Dolphins early. They were doing all kinds of zero coverage, which is man to man across the board. Josh Allen knows it's coming, so he's throwing deep passes. Diggs beats him deep on 3rd and 15 to get the one-handed touchdown pass to Dawson Knox, 7-0. Then Skylar Thompson to a bad pick to Dean Marlowe. They run a quarterback counter, but give the ball to James Cook. So it's 14-0 Bills. But then, and then the Bills get another field goal, which I thought Josh Allen did the right thing, not trying to force it, get up 3 scores like he did with the field goal. But then it was like the tide opened up with the Dolphins and with the mistakes by the Bills. I mean, you have an interception by Xavier Howard, led to another field goal, 17-6. Then you had a punt return by Cedric Wilson, led to another field goal. Gosh, if the Dolphins had just been able to get some more touchdowns and field goals on that, 17-9. And then Javon Holland was able to get a pick as well. It bounced off Cole Beasley. Next thing you know, Mike Gesicki scores a touchdown. It's 17-17. Now the Bills were able to get some momentum back at the end of the first half as Josh Allen hit Gabe Davis, who had a really big game. I mean, it's like playoff Gabe at this point. He does more in the playoffs than he does the regular season. To go up 2017, second half, you're like, okay, Bills will probably be able to pull away now. Eric Rowe blitzes off the edge, forces Josh Allen to fumble. Zach Sealer picks it up, 24-20 Dolphins in the second half. Turnovers, man, are the big equalizer. And Josh Allen just has to take better care of the football. I've been saying it all year. It's gonna be the reason why they lose a game. It just is. But then I thought one of the biggest plays of the game. I have no idea why the Dolphins up 24-20 and backed up in their own territory. They had Skylar Thompson on 3rd and really long try to throw the ball down the field. I even said it on the radio right before it happened. You cannot throw an interception here. Run a draw, punt it away. Nope, interception. So to Kaiir Elam. So next thing you know, touchdown for Cole Beasley, 27-24. Josh Allen throws a bomb to Gabe Davis, 34-24. By the way, at that point, you're like, okay, the game's over. They're up by 10 again. No, Skylar Thompson kept playing. And long Miami drive to go up 34-31. Dolphins were done in by drops in the first half. Those guys did not help out Skylar Thompson. And then the second half, the timeouts, delay games. I mean, really bad look, I thought, from Mike McDaniel in the second half of that game.
Daniel Jones in New York upset the Vikings on the road in Minnesota, 31-24.
There's always at least one, Jack. There's always at least one upset. Actually, there were two because the Jaguars were the underdogs as well. Daniel Jones was incredible. Remember a couple weeks ago when Greg Cosell and I were talking about Daniel Jones and I said on Twitter, the Giants were kind of right. Oh, yeah, Giants were right about Daniel Jones, dude. Yeah, right. He sucks, dude. Oh, really? Did you watch the game yesterday? Did you watch the playoff victory for Daniel Jones yesterday? Had an awesome game. Saquon Barkley absolutely has the burst back. Both of his touchdowns, he showed, first of all, the first one, just serious juice. The second one, being able to squeeze in and power through for the touchdown, impressive. This Isaiah Hudgens guy for the Giants has come out of nowhere to be a force making plays. Dexter Lawrence is an all-pro football player and deservingly so. The Giants were able to overcome a horrible Darius Slayton drop, which probably should have ended the game. And then how about the roughing the passer penalty on Dexter Lawrence? Terrible. I mean, that could have been the difference in the game. Terrible. But then for some unknown reason, Kirk Cousins, 4th and 8, throws the ball to Hawkinson underneath. I thought Kirk Cousins actually played pretty well. The Vikings defense is just tough. I mean, that's the wrong word. They're just bad. They have a really bad defense. Thought Hawkinson was excellent. Vikings did not get enough out of Justin Jefferson in the game. Didn't throw it to him enough. But the story of this game to me was Daniel Jones being awesome and the Vikings defense being bad.
We'll wrap things up with the team I decided to wrap today with Cincinnati, who outgained Baltimore by 130 yards, or Baltimore outgained Cincinnati by 130 yards, but the Bengals still managed to get a 24-17 victory.
Right, man. I mean, the Bengals O-line injuries becoming a major problem. This time it was Jonah Williams, so they had to put Jackson Carman in at left tackle. Not good. If they don't have Jonah Williams against the Bills, that will be problematic. Bengals dominated the first quarter. They go up 9-0. This feels like every game was the same. But the Ravens started to play bully ball in the second quarter. Long touchdown drive. Then they get the field goal at the end of the first half. They're up 10-9. That game, by the way, went exactly how the Ravens would have wanted to go. Snoop Huntley was much better than he had been during the regular season with his arm, some throws he made, like the touchdown pass to Eli Apple as the Ravens tied it up again, I think 17-17. He was awesome with his legs. Honestly, this whole game came down to one play. And I think it's as big of a swing play as I can remember. And yes, I know that there's other plays that ended games, right? And the James Harrison play in the Super Bowl is wild. But the Ravens were at the Tyler Huntley fumbled at like the 5-inch line, at the 1 foot line. The Ravens were going in for a touchdown to take the lead. It gets popped out by Logan Wilson right into Sam Hubbard's arms for a 99-yard touchdown. I mean, just an absolutely insane, I tell you, lead change. And that ended up being the game. Ravens had a couple chances after that. They couldn't get it done. We mentioned the clock management at the end. What a weekend of football. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did.